you think it'll take?
The race took me about 40 minutes, so give yourself about an hour, hour 30 tops. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It shouldn't be more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the distance of it?
It's like maybe a 5 mile tops, but it's closer to like 4. Yeah. So, but it's just stairs. It's like stairs, all stairs. All right.
Up and down is like, I watched the YouTube video and I got dizzy.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. It's
GoPro or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to do this off. I'm dizzy.
Alright guys, so we're into basically to week 9. So this is going to be a Q&A today. I'm going to actually just pull up the old map from, let's see if I can find it. Alright, exit out of this. Exit, come on. Exit, there we go. Exit, there, cool. Okay, so I'm going to pull up from Twitter, thank you Twitter, this, boom. This is our old map from your Spartan race from last year. So you can see it's very similar to like the course that we've been doing, right? They have different names for things, obviously. Your assault bike is basically that, it's harder. You're gonna see about 12-ish obstacles in that course, maybe more, but they did change the burpee penalties, so you're looking at 15 for each obstacle if you miss it. It used to be 30, but then they realized stadium races are so short, they're like, let's do 15. What they did last year was they put the spear throw as one of your first obstacles. So basically the race was like over here for anybody who's doing it competitively. Like they missed it, they're stuck. Because you can't recover from that at that point, right? But you're basically running throughout the stadium, as you can see. Like you'll see that you'll hit certain things and then you'll just do stairs. And then it's like more stairs. And then it's like stairs and then obstacle, right? So that's kind of the way that you do it. They'll do some of the bigger obstacles like the Hercoist on the outside and the outskirts of the actual stadium, but you're running mostly through the stadium. So you'll be in the stadium doing like maybe some cardio type of things, and then when you're in the outskirts of it, they'll have like in between some hurdles, and then they'll have the actual crazy like heavier obstacles. One that I'm not sure that they put in here because they don't label everything. They have the giant jump rope in there. They also had the Atlas stone carry. I think the Atlas stone is up to 100 pounds. It's not more than that. So you're not going to have to do anything like 165 pounds like that one. That one's not really great for training right now because it's too heavy. That's more of a strongman one. It's not super practical. So buckets is going to be closer to that, but it's going to be a little heavier than the bucket, basically. With the stone carry, it's basically what we've been doing with the medicine ball. We pick it up, bring it to the other side, you do some burpees, bring it to the other side back, and then you're done with it. And that's pretty much it for that one. But you can see it's very quick. A lot of the stadium races are very fast. So what you want to keep doing is just find a good pace and just keep moving through it. It's not like a traditional like distance one. It's more of a like, they call it a sprint for a reason because it's a little bit faster pace for most of these. Now the stadium series is different from your traditional sprint. Your normal sprint is going to be around 3.5 to 5 miles, but it's going to be with hills and like outside, and you're going to have the mud elements. The stadium doesn't. It's more of like kind of your boot camp CrossFit type of status. Your super is going to be the 8 to 10 mile one. That's the next version of that. That's the blue one. And then your beast is the one that is going to be your 13 plus mile one. It's like your half marathon one. That one is going to take a lot longer to prepare for. So just keep that in mind. So I want to kind of keep it open for questions. If you guys have any questions about gear or races, or just kind of more of the actual running camp side of it, because we covered a lot of the mindset components so far. So I want to dive more into some of the race components. I have a lot of those resources in the group as well with some of the stuff in my group. So you'll see some like race prep checklist. I do go through how to prepare for some of the races, and I just kind of videoed what it takes to go through like your beast race, or what I brought for that. Just a quick recap on that though. Give yourself like an hour to get into the actual race. You're going to need a lot of time to get to the race. Mara was talking about earlier how they signed up for a race and they'll have a window, right? So it's really, they'll lock that down closer to the race day, but they want to give you enough time to get to the race and then figure out where you can start. So if you're going with a group, try to aim towards the later part of that window just so that everyone can actually run in the race. They won't let you go any time further. So just keep that in So anybody have any questions right now, just off the top of my head? Okay.
So I was looking at some of the race maps.
Yeah.
And a lot of the obstacles are labeled wall.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, and there were like 4 of them that
Yeah.
said wall. I'm like, there's not going to be like that wall, right? So like, are some of them taller than others? Some of them are like those triangular ones, like
Yeah. So
it's just a generic wall.
people keep looking at this like this is going to be the definitive course map because they run half marathons. Like, oh, that's the map. No. So one thing Spartan Race is known for is they don't tell you what's on the course. That is like their staple. They will never tell you what's on the course all the time. And they do that purposely just to mess with you. They also do that purposely because they don't want people sharing this on social media and telling you what's going on in the race.
Yeah.
But the wall is going to be a combination of a couple different things. It's going to be the 6-foot wall. They do have a combination of them. They also have like the A-frame wall, which is basically a cargo net. That's like a upside down A or upside down V. It's just an A, and then you just go over that. That's that's not super complicated. It's just a bigger obstacle. But the other wall that I'm thinking, you're not going to see this in a stadium race, but you will see it in a like sprint that's outside. That's on normal course. It's inverted wall, so it's going to be like this. So it's basically this thing, but just tilted. And that's a little bit more challenging. There's some ways to get over that, but it's very much one of those things where I have to come up with like my own video for that because I can show you how to do it, but until you actually go through it, you're not going to know what makes the most sense. It's still a combination of getting that leg over and still getting there, but you have to do it now at an angle, so it requires a lot more pulling. So that's the only one that's different. You're not going to see that at the stadium though. Anything else wall related is like small versions of like multiple walls that they'll do. The only other thing I've seen is a Z wall, but they call that a Z wall. And they usually label that now on this one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Nothing else that's like out of the blue. It's just sometimes they'll have bigger walls. Like they might have one that's a little bit taller than that. There might be one. But usually they're around that height. Anybody else? Start times. Yeah, I mean, you can ask all the questions. It's fine. I mean, yeah, go for it.
I see a lot of people wearing backpacks and packs. So
Yeah.
what would you recommend?
Depends on the type of race. So you're talking about the AT&T or Oracle Park one, right? You don't really need a backpack for that one. I'll give you kind of an overview from my experience. Essentially, anything above a sprint, you're going to need a backpack for. So the backpack is more for like your hydration, like your Camelback. It's also to store like snacks and like mustard or anything that'll help you with cramping. That's more just like fuel for the longer races. Your bag for running this race is because they didn't do bag check and they were not smart about it. So they're running with all of their stuff. That's why they're doing it and they didn't think it through. So basically when you get to the race, you want to have some cash on hand for your bag check. They only take cash. So you're going to want to take I don't know, any type of like a duffel bag or any type of like bag that is more durable because they're going to throw it with other bags, but also make sure that you somehow label it because it's going to be almost like TSA airport security type of thing where it's like, oh, there's my bag, like here's 50 other bags, right? You have to know, be able to identify it very quickly. So just keep that in mind when you're doing the actual race. Only check your bag, put everything in that bag, and then you can come back to it after the race. You don't want to be running your race with your cell phone or your keys and stuff like that. I've seen people do it, and it really upsets me because I actually saw somebody take a call in the middle of a race, and I almost punched him in the face. So like, I'm like, dude, and it was he literally was like, it was the one in Laughlin, but it was like an 8 to 10 mile race. This is one of the smaller ones. It was just like a bigger one. And he was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, is this guy? And like, even people running, like, is this guy taking a call? Like, so. This is the problem with Spartan races. People think it's like the fun run stuff, and it's not. It's a race. Like I don't see people taking calls during triathlons. Like don't be that person, right? So check your bag, put all your stuff in your bag. Only run with the bag if you're actually doing a super, which is the 8 to 10 mile one, or anything above that. And that's the only time you're actually going to need it, unless for some reason you like have a tendency to cramp on really short runs, in which case we got to work on some other things. That's pretty much what I recommend. And the reason why you do that is, again, for fuel and hydration. That's really one reason, because a lot of these races will not have like fuel checkpoints. They'll have a lot less of them. Any other questions about racing?
How
many attempts per obstacle, or some of them one try only?
It's all one trial. So if you fail the first one, you got to do burpees. So that's kind of how this works for all of them. A lot of the ones that you'll see, I think they don't necessarily care about are like the hurdle stuff and like the smaller walls in the beginning, because you're just getting over small ones. I don't think you can fail those per se unless you just literally want to walk around them. Then you'll probably get called out on that. But yeah, every one of them you get pretty much one attempt at them. That's kind of how it works. The one that I think they made up names for is like this rolling epic one, which is something weird, but you're basically on like almost like a dolly type of thing, and you're just walking in a plank position and then coming back. So that's nothing new, but it's just one attempt at it. So that's why the spear throw and like your multi-rig and your rope climb, those are the ones that are tougher, because if you miss the first jump or you miss that wrap, or if you just don't hold the first one, you fall off, it's like, all right, I'm doing burpees, you know. So that's why we're kind of stressing here the technique part of it. That's why I'm going to give you guys more time in the next couple of weeks to really dial in the technique, because you're only going to get one attempt to do these obstacles. And you know, if you keep messing up these obstacles and you have 15 obstacles and you're just doing burpees the whole time, this race kind of sucks, right? It's not fun anymore. So you got to have a certain level of skill set and understanding of what the obstacle entails just to get to that point. So yeah, just one attempt. And that's why the rope climb, the spear throw, probably, and then the multi-rig, and then usually the Z-wall. Those are the 4 ones that are most complicated in terms of technique. And then after that, it becomes just, you know, mastering the basics for the wall and stuff like that. So, what else we got?
So when you come up to an obstacle, is there like, you get in line essentially?
It can be.
Or?
It depends on the course. There's a lot of X factors. It sometimes is like that. If it's one of the open phases. I've had that experience where I was about to do something, someone stepped in front of me. It shouldn't be like that. They usually will release people in waves. Some of the obstacles tend to get more crowded because they take longer. Your like gauntlet stuff, sometimes your rope climb. It's dependent on the course. This is a faster course, so people cycle through it faster. If someone's walking the entire time, yeah, they're going to be in the way and they're going to take longer. Sometimes, so it's really case by case. There's no like set one, but I'd say for the most part, a little bit, yeah. So just expect that you're not going to just run through it in an open course. If you want that type of experience, that's more of your competitive wave, where you're going to have to be coming in early and you have to be going against some of the other areas. And that's where we get to that eventually. But there's some benefits to that because you're the first one on the course, so you get some of the, you know, obstacles that haven't been messed up, so to speak. So, any other questions about racing, gear, stuff like that? Because I know there's a lot. And I've covered a little bit, like I was saying, I've covered a little bit of that in the actual group, so definitely check out those resources. But if there's any other questions that come up later, we can drop those in the group, and I can do kind of a Q&A in addition to that. Just a quick recap for next week. I'm going to be traveling, so we'll pick things up on the 24th, I believe. So next week there won't be a camp, but I'll try to drop in on just some extra Q&A stuff. If you guys have any questions, I can do like a little remote Q&A from where I'm at in Temecula, and then we can answer some of those questions as well, which is good.
I think it's common sense, but I'm asking.
Yeah, no, go
back.
back.
Before for nutrition, would you say carb up?
Yeah. So that's the one that I think people take for granted. I do have a little bit more research on that, and I'll kind of dig it up and probably post it in the group. For that one, I forget the exact ratio, but you want to keep it bland, and you want to keep it what you've already been introducing into your diet. What a lot of people get wrong about this is the night before they'll eat something like really crazy, and then they'll just upset their stomach, or they'll eat it before the race. I wouldn't recommend eating anything before the race unless you are already in the kind of habit of doing that. Like if you've already been doing that in your training. Like if you go for a run right now, what do you do before that, right? Like think of it that way. I don't think a lot of people will go and like eat a huge meal before they do a run. They'll usually do it the night before. So you want to give yourself at least an 8-hour window before the start of the actual race to when you're eating, so you have time to digest and you have all that time. So basically when you wake up, you're just hydrating and you're not like chugging water, you're just kind of sipping water throughout the day or the hours leading up to it, and then you're rolling into the race based on that amount of carbs you have. So like really bland, simple pasta, like nothing, no sauce or anything, just that. That tends to be the best. It's like the staple most people go with. So just anything that you enjoy like eating or are used to eating that's not crazy spicy or something like that. And just make sure you're hydrated. That's one of the things people also forget. So you got to do both, right? And Pedialyte's pretty good because it's designed for that. If you want to just hydrate in it before the race, and then you're just sipping on that, just down one of those before the race. That tends to be good. And also just give yourself enough time, before the race so that, you're not running on like a full stomach, stuff like that. That's good. And then obviously the longer the distance, the more you're gonna have to eat, obviously. So that's why people bring the camelbacks and stuff like that. Yeah.
So on a short race, the bathroom not a big deal, but like on a longer race, how's the bathroom situation?
They sometimes will have stuff. Don't count on it.
Just stop on the side.
Okay, so I've had that experience too, where I had like some oatmeal in the middle of the race. I'm like, that was a bad idea. And then there's like an outhouse there that they have. They happen to have it on the course, but I mean, like I had to run a good 6 miles before I found it. So, like, yeah, just expect that you're not going to find it, and you're probably going to hit a bush. Like that's what sometimes happens. Don't count on it. Basically, that's why I'm saying like be very careful in what you eat. People don't think about this.
Try to avoid the situation.
Yeah, it's better off to just. It's not a good situation. It's just a rough situation. You're talking about like, okay, this is like a disaster scenario. There's occasionally they've gotten better about it, but when you first started, it was kind of like, that's your fault. Like that's kind of how they approached it, and they still have that vibe. So even though it's become more mainstream, like they don't care about you. So don't think that they do. Like they kind of don't. And that's why I've come up with this whole training, because I need to like explain the back end of like how sometimes it's not designed for that. Like there's not a lot of water stations in these races. There's not a lot of like restroom stations. Like it's not quite like your polished type of like half marathon triathlons where they have everything standardized. It's still very much in development project, as you can kind of tell. But yeah, don't count on it. I wouldn't count on it. So I would just avoid it if you can. If you have to, I mean, like there's ways to like, they have them, but it's very sporadic and it depends on the course. Any other questions off the top of your head that we covered, didn't cover? But yeah, just even in the stadium one, the racing shoes do help. So keep that in mind that you're probably going to want to run in the same shoes that you've been training in. What I'd recommend is if you were going to do running shoes, you can probably get away with it for the stadium. It's just it becomes harder on some of the obstacles. So keep that in mind that you probably want to run in like your racing shoes and just make sure that you're used to them. If they're brand new, like I wouldn't recommend running in them. You want to break them in during this camp and then run in them after that. That's a good part. You could also get away with wearing gloves for your stadium races the entire time because there's no mud. So that's something you can do if you want to test them out. That's an option as well. So it does help on the rope climb elements, and just because it's colder in the morning, it could help with climbing some of the wooden obstacles and stuff like that. Anything else off the top of your heads? I think we covered a lot, so that's pretty much it. All right, so we're going to drop into our camp then. I'll kind of give you the overview of what we're doing today. It's pretty much the same thing that we've been doing last time. Now